Well, that's easy. I'm the working class candidate, and we're the working class party. So I am as working class as it gets. I work during the day. I campaign at night. I am the child of labor parents, both of them UAW for over 50 years combined in good standing. I am a person of the community, of the people. I am involved with the community. And I can really best represent the people's needs of our district and best represent our party. Particular expertise would be with, I've worked with chambers of commerce as well as the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Have sat on the board as well as committees for the Hispanic Chamber and as well as the Chamber of Commerce in the Quad Cities. And so you learn about business and you learn what it takes. And what we need incentives to help areas like Sterling that have the workforce, but they need manufacturing plants, they need manufacturing jobs that'll help boost the area, but we also need to create the tax incentives needed to bring them here. We need to stop cutting spending on education, and you hit that one right on the head there. But it's also not fair that in America, depending on where you live and how much money your parents have, that will determine the education you get. You've got suburban schools that have people that have higher resources, and so they have Olympic-style swimming pools, and they have these incredible facilities, ponds to practice fly fishing, but then you have rural communities that are begging for a new roof. And that all goes, again, based off of how much money you have, where you can afford to live. That determines your education, and that has to stop. We need education reform in this country. We also need to understand that not everybody in America is going to be a doctor or a lawyer. There are some students that are great with the creative arts. There are students that are great with welding and manufacturing positions. We need to change our education system so everyone can be prepared for a life in the workforce, whatever they decide. And we also have to stop cutting spending. We have to be able to educate our community, but it seems like education is the first thing to get cut all the time, and we need these grants, we need money for our colleges to produce higher educated people.
I'm interested in your opinion on the No Child Left Behind Act because of your role with Augustana.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that?
I've been talking to a lot of teachers because I am in education, and that really affects not so much in higher ed, but it's affecting the local schools because you're teaching to a test. And the test you're also putting that test in front of students with special needs. And so that lowers the average of the overall schooling system. And once again, they try to create this test that's going to get all students, but it doesn't. And it's causing causing schools to fumble. It's causing schools to not get the passing grades that they're not getting the grades to pass. And even though they might be great schools and they're doing well with them, but the test says different, but the test isn't built for the school that these students are going through. It's not working. If our nation is being threatened, we need to step up and we need to protect ourselves. But if it's for special interests, we cannot police the entire world. It's too expensive. We cannot do that. And so there has to be a threat on our country or our safety before we start attacking others.
Do you agree with the decision to go into Libya?
That's a man. You have great questions, and I applaud you for that. And they have nuclear weapons, but we've also heard the story before. Where were the weapons of mass destruction before that we never found before? I don't know, because if they do have weapons of mass destruction, if they are creating nuclear weapons, and we can prove and we can really see that, it's something to consider. But we've surrounded ourselves completely around this country. There is military presence all around that area. And so they know that they're about to be attacked. Why are we doing that? Why have we set up ourselves strategically? Was it all for that? Was there a plan beforehand that we don't know about? It's tough to know. I didn't realize how big it was. It's a lot bigger of an area than I thought it was. And also, it's neat seeing a community that sees itself as a community. You have Rock Falls, you have Sterling, you have Dixon, but you guys look out for each other. You guys have parades that start in one town, end up in the other, and then they reverse it the opposite year, because that's a great way to build community. It's not Sterling's parade, it's not Rock Falls' parade, it's really a community of the area. What really surprised me is how many young people there are, and then they end up leaving. That's very tragic. I also didn't realize how many manufacturing companies have left this area. And it's funny because I see a place like Sterling, because you read numbers like, oh, we've lost X many jobs in America, but now we've raised this many jobs. Kind of like Sterling, yes, there have been more jobs, but they've been retail jobs. They're not paying the same as the manufacturing area that the companies that left. So it's I guess that's what in a nutshell, it's a beautiful community that looks out for each other. They care for each other. It's a community that's losing a lot of their young people, leaving for other opportunities in major cities. And it's an area that's been hit hard by the economy, and they've been losing jobs, they've been losing manufacturing plants, and the jobs are being replaced by jobs that do not pay as much as they used to. And so in a nutshell, that's kind of what I've gathered.
To people who would come to you and say, we want manufacturing to return to the area, what would you say to them when they would, ask you if that's going to happen?
I'd say we're going to do everything we can to bring that back, but I also want to see manufacturing that's going to take us into a new future. We need renewable energy sources. Iowa has increased the amount of jobs, and they're looking at flex fuel, biodiesel, wind power. Let's bring the new manufacturing in. Let's get maybe plants to come to build the windmill turbines here in Sterling. We've got the workforce. They can get the job done. But let's try to do something new so we can carry America strong into the future.
Do you think you'd be able to get that accomplished in Washington, D.C. for the district?
Absolutely. I mean, I have to fight for jobs. My job as a representative, and I think a lot of people forget this when they get to Washington, is to represent the needs of the people that they represent. And the need is we need jobs that are going to pay us a decent living. So if that's what their need is, I need to do my part in Congress to make sure that happens, that we get the funding to help these areas that have been hit the hardest.
Anything else you'd like to add that I didn't ask you about? Maybe about the questions or a topic?
Sure. I guess just one thing that I want to add, that I really feel that I know that I am the working class candidate. I have the experience because I have worked for Social Security. I've worked in financial institutions while banks were getting bailed out. I was working in a credit union that put people before profit. I've worked in the media for several years. I work in higher education now, and I'm very community-minded, community-oriented, and I am truly a working-class candidate that works by day, campaigns by night, because I cannot put faith in a candidate who is a full-time politician. I can only put faith in a candidate that says they're going to represent the working class because they are from the working class.